Joined by Zvika Klein. He's the editor-in-chief of the Jerusalem Post. And I really thank you for joining us at this critical moment as we continue to just parse the news. Hello to you. We'll continue to parse the news by the hour. Can you try and bring us right up to date? So we understand now that the cabinet will be meeting on Friday. How do you judge this ceasefire deal right now? Is it in trouble?
So as you mentioned, just about 15 minutes ago, the government announced that all the issues that were between Israel and Hamas have been solved, and this will actually go to the government for a vote. The Israeli representatives in Doha have to come back and speak to the cabinet and explain exactly all of the details. So that's why the meeting will only take place tomorrow. But as you mentioned, politically, this is a very complicated situation where two of the far right parties in the government are against it, because most of their constituents are against this type of a deal.
When you say constituents, though, and we're leaning on you to just try and gauge the feeling among many Israelis right now, obviously so many just sheer emotional exhaustion. But how are they viewing the Netanyahu government right now, understanding, of course, that it is a very divided electorate?
Right. So, I mean, most of these people who vote for Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, who you mentioned, have served in the IDF reserves in the past year and a few months, and they've seen Gaza up front. And we heard also yesterday the representative of Hamas saying that this is just a pause because they want to eliminate the Jewish state. They have no plan to stop, and they don't want Israel to exist here. So they see this, though they support this government, the people who vote for Smotrich and for Ben-Gvir, they see this deal as a very big problem because there are many elements in Israel's security that will be problematic after it's implemented.
So if I hear you correctly, even if this phase one goes through, do you believe that a phase two, so after 6 weeks, that this kind of a ceasefire could be in trouble?
Unfortunately, there's so many things that could go wrong. And as opposed to the previous release of hostages in November 2023, we saw it was day after day, we saw a release. Here, only a number of hostages every week for 6 weeks, as you mentioned. So there's so many things that could go wrong. If a fringe part of Hamas decides to shoot a rocket at Israel, that can cause the end of the ceasefire. If Israel has to respond to something, that could also cause the end of the ceasefire. And that's even before we get to the political situation. I just saw a tweet now by another minister from Likud, which is Netanyahu's party, saying if Israel will withdraw from the Philadelphia corridor, basically the border between Gaza and Egypt, he will quit from the government. So you can't take these threats lightly.
You can't take it lightly, and it also, she said, it threatens the collapse of the entire government. And obviously, Benjamin Netanyahu, his political survival must be what's front of mind right now. I want to ask you, though, going forward, as we get into the next weeks, assuming that this ceasefire deal does hold at least for a few weeks, do you believe the Trump administration will have more influence with the Netanyahu government, with his cabinet going forward in the next few weeks? Because the Biden administration certainly had a very combative relationship.
100%. So I think, at the end of the day, they see more eye to eye when it comes to the Middle East, when it comes to the Palestinians and to extreme Islam. That said, the deal that we see at the moment and the deal that was suggested in May 2024 is almost the same thing now. So, and we have the representatives of Biden and of Trump in a very, impressive way working together on this. So there hasn't really been a difference between both of the deals that have been suggested up until now. There are many in Israel that hope that Trump will be, more supportive of Israel and more critical towards Hamas. We haven't totally seen that yet. And there are those that saying out loud within right-wing, parties that maybe we were wrong and maybe Trump won't be as tough as we thought he would be.
Won't be as tough. And I wonder how the issues regarding the West Bank kind of creep into all of this. Obviously, front of mind is the release of the hostages at this point in time. But going forward, what are the interests of a good portion of the Netanyahu cabinet in really having more of a free hand with what they want to do in the West Bank, especially when it comes to continuing to build those settlements?
So there were definitely reports that Netanyahu were to convince Bezalel Smotrich, the finance minister, to support the hostage release in order for there being, more building in Judea and Samaria, as you said, the West Bank. The assumption also is with Mike Huckabee becoming the ambassador to Israel, he won't even use the words West Bank. He calls it Judea and Samaria, the way it was called in the Bible. So, most of the Trump administration at the moment is very pro settlements in the West Bank, and I think that it will definitely be more flexible towards Israel when it comes to that.
Vika, we've gone through the gamut there in terms of Israeli politics, but can you speak to us about the emotion with the families of the hostages at this hour? I honestly, month after month, week after week, I cannot imagine how they put up with all of this political gamesmanship that they continue to live through.
I mean, it's a roller coaster for them, and it's a roller coaster for every single Israeli, who cares, and it's something that we can't even imagine or can't understand how this could be.
As we will leave it there for now.
And these people.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, it's a roller coaster of emotions. These people have been going through hell, and unfortunately, also many politicians are speaking in a very negative way, and just taking opportunity and trying to sabotage or to speak to them in a very negative way. And I really hope that Israelis focus on what's important, and that's staying united. It's just something that happened after October 7th. Most of us were united, and we were positive in trying to fight together as a nation. That's something that we haven't been seeing lately, and people are very upset and invested in this situation.
Absolutely. Most of all, of course, the families of those hostages. Vika Klein, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Now.